All right. Good evening from Southern California, Los Angeles area. And we're going to do today a garrote offense. We're going to start off with offense and work our way to defense. And of course, Sun Tzu, you need to know not only yourself, you need to know the enemy. So let me do one thing here. There we go. All right. So a garrote basically is a generic term for a lot of different materials. And I have a few materials on the table here. So I'm going to use, now we're expecting some more people coming in, but I'm going to use Justin for a second. And he's going to stand here and face that way. All right, just a couple things. Maybe it's a belt, a nice leather belt over the neck, choke, cut off circulation. We'll be using that probably the most. We use for training a plastic chain. I get these at hardware stores. You know, they're for gardens to rope off areas or for events, but they're nice because they can represent a metal chain and again, throw it over, choke them. So these are good training tools. A zip tie. You probably haven't thought about a zip tie as a dangerous weapon, but it's very flexible. Some of them are even longer. The law enforcement ones for feet, they make them longer in hardware stores for different things. But you choke someone out, they pass out, you zip tie them, hit it as hard as you can, that person's never going to recover. So you could leave them, and of course they die. Obviously, good guys won't do that, but that's what a bad guy can do. Nunchucks, even traditional martial arts tools. Not only do you have the flexible part to choke, but you got, if this is wood or metal, now you can even break the neck with nunchucks. And finally, especially for you in law enforcement, imagine if I were handcuffed. I'm not going to cuff them. These are just plastic toy ones. But imagine if I were handcuffed, never cuff someone in front that's asking for trouble. And obviously, if he were a police officer, or maybe I'm in a third world country where the police are the bad guys and they're going to take me around the building and execute me, like they almost did to one of my buddies. You can throw it over, and now you have a garrote. All right. So go check make sure we have everybody coming in. So the whole point is there's many tools that could be used, and we got to know how to defend against them. But first, again, let's do some offensive things. So come over here, Justin. Red represents bad guy, diamond, bad guy, and blue, rectangle, good guy. All right, there's a couple ways. So we'll go sideways here. Obviously, when you hold a garrote, you always, if it doesn't have handles, because there are professional made garrotes that have a wire and it's wrapped to two handles. But if you're making an improvised one, this belt, you always want to leave a little bit of tail. And then you loop it over and you twist. And you go in two different directions, and that's one way. On your outline, it says Australian SAS. Special Air Service. And I always give credit where credit's due. So if I get a technique from a different country or a different group, I give it to them. So obviously, when I was in Australia, I got this one. And basically, you throw it over, you pull down into the side diagonally with one hand, the support hand, because I'm right-handed, that's my primary hand. And then you do what's called a punch. And you punch forward as hard as you can, stabilize this, and that's a way to choke somebody out. And obviously, if you think about it and practice it, you become faster. And then we have, and real quick, turn around, face me. And of course, from jujitsu, when we used to wear the gis, and in this case, he has just a t-shirt, it's kind of the same thing. You grab the collar, you stabilize it, you punch, and that's how you choke someone out with their own clothes, provided it's a configuration like that. And now finally, he's got his back to me. And this one is brutal. This is the one that really will get you instantly. I loop it over. I quickly, as I'm twisting, I put my back into him. I lower my center of gravity, and I take him over my shoulder. Now, I'm not going to put any pressure on my training partner. Well, you can imagine what kind of damage that's going to do. So you can go check, see if anyone came in. Now, I was going to grab, all right, good. So we have one more joining us. I was going to grab a, you've seen them in camping stores, survival stores. You can order them online. But basically, it's a wire. It'd be a wire with 2 rings on the other side of each. And it's very thin. And of course, it's used to, if this were the tree branch, if this were a tree branch, you put it around it and you saw through it and you go through it. Now, on your outline, I wrote at the 1-1C, cutting through the skin. Now, let's just say, because I couldn't find mine, I didn't have time, I'll bring Justin back. Let's say this is the wire. It's got the 2 rings. He's facing that way. And if I take this and I do one of these, that wire is going to cut right through the neck. It's going to cut, I mean, it could almost decapitate you. And of course, that's why assassins, especially back in American history, the Italian mafia, sometimes they would use those garrotes with piano wire, and they practically slice the guy's head off. All right. So one more thing about that. When I was a jailer, and plus when I was working with special forces in the military, I myself was not special forces, but I was an instructor, and I was able to learn a lot from different groups that I got to train with. One of the things I always checked for when I was a jailer, and if you ever are capturing an enemy soldier, I'll use Justin as my enemy soldier for a second. And let's say he's bound up, we got his hands tied. We would check, we would make sure belt is removed, and we would check the hem where the cloth goes over at the waistband, and then they sew it, right? Then it's sewed. And obviously that's where the belt line is. You're good? So in special forces or pilots, even pilots are taught this in SEER, survival, evasion, resistance, escape. I took that course, and I'll do the outside of my pants, but you do a little slit. It's on the inside, of course, a slit here, slit there. You run the wire through it. You save the rings in another part. And now you have a wire that goes your whole length of your waist. And if you're ever captured, and hopefully during that critical time before they strip you of your clothes, you pull it out, and now you have your garrote, or a survival tool if you got away from them. So you can see this could go many directions, but we're going to go to the next part, and that is avoidance. So I'm going to bring back Justin. My bad guy. All right, we'll just use the belt here. And I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. And now, maybe the basic idea is throw it over the guy's neck, pull as hard as you can, and you're going to, one of the physical things that's going to happen is you're going to cut off the blood. And just like when I first started law enforcement, we would do the carotid choke. And so sit down on your butt. Maybe move back a little bit because I don't know if they've got a view. But basically, you put your elbow, both your bicep, one side of the carotid, your forearm other, leaving a V so you don't kill him with breaking his throat. And then you put on pressure, and about 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds later, he passes out. All right, stand up. Now that's, for the good guys doing that. Totally illegal now in the United States, but it does work. Now, he obviously, when he throws this over my neck, and you'll get behind me, and he throws that over my neck, let me give a word of warning. Now, If you put, for young people like him and older people like me, I'm plus 60, you don't want any pressure at all. And I'm talking for both of us. Whenever you use tools, don't use any pressure. Only go through the motion, because the problem is if he went hard, this thing can really damage even the bones in my neck because it might twist it the wrong way. Now, if he were to even put his arm around my neck like a chokehold, now because I'm over 40 years old, he is not allowed to do any pressure on my neck whatsoever. Now he's young. I could put pressure on his neck if we're doing some, practicing chokeholds. But for over 40, no way. Think about this. As you're older, you build up plaque. And that plaque is in there. You don't see it, obviously. And think about now if he put any pressure on there. All of a sudden, it's like a dam to a river, and all the water is getting stopped. Well, when you suddenly release the dam, everything comes rushing through, and that blood comes back into the arteries, and it might dislodge some plaque. Next thing you know, guy's having a heart attack, a stroke. So we don't put any pressure for anyone over 40 on the neck. And for the rule with garrotes, when we're training, is no pressure on him, no pressure on me, because these are just way too dangerous, because you have no feeling. You can't feel, you have no nerve endings in a belt. So very dangerous. All right. So he is going to stand over there. This would be a typical martial arts school. I stand there, bad guy puts it over my neck, and next thing you know, I'm in the situation. All right. So I don't like to start there because, first of all, bad guys are not ghosts. They're not a phantom. They don't just come out of midair and materialize it in behind you or in front of you. And yet, many martial arts schools put you in the worst case scenario right away. And that's no good, because how did he get there? Was I oblivious to my environment? Was I not hearing? Was I not seeing? Okay, so we're going to do a drill here, and we're going to do it live. I don't know what he's going to do. I just know he's going to put a garrote on my neck, but exactly where he is, left, right, I don't know. So I'll show you how it's done. Back up.
You haven't been this excited in years, but you're wondering if it's right for you. That little promise you made to her years ago is like trying to stay on a strict diet. Adultery. A one-night stand or regular encounters will increase your self-esteem, give you a sense of adventure, and boost your dopamine levels. So what are you waiting for? After all, it is the 20s. Common side effects include guilt, possible embarrassment, social scandal among friends and family, separation or divorce from spouse, long-term emotional duress to the kids, property loss, and years of alimony payments. More severe side effects include sexually transmitted diseases, stricken with a plague, or even eternal damnation for breaking the seventh commandment if failure to repent before God. Adultery. Don't worry about what echoes in eternity when you can live in the moment.
And we'll start right about there. And then some time before the camera, just lightly come over my head and start your attack. So I want to try to not think of him. I'm only waiting for an audio or a visual, but I don't, I'm in a quiet room. So obviously, more with street traffic and stuff or an alley, I might not hear as well. So I'm walking down. All right, that's it. So in this case, as it was coming over, just at the moment it was coming over, go ahead. I happened to see his thumb and a part of the black belt here. I also heard the belt buckle move just a little bit to where it actually startled me for a moment. Now, as it's coming, the rule is always turn and block. Always just turn and block. And as he was pulling on it, okay, I happened to be able to get away, or at least push him up. a lot better facing him, even if I'm trapped, than getting it right around the neck. Now, when I do the same thing, if he was just gonna come and do a chokehold around me, just, you know, a normal chokehold where he's trying to strangle me from behind, he could use his left hand, he could use his right. I just will walk the same way, and he's gonna do it with his arms. So you can do left hand, right hand, you know, fast, but here we go. All right. So in that case, I don't know. I saw both hands coming at the same time. I can only go one direction. I turned, I got away from it. And again, when I try to empty my mind when I'm doing this exercise, because if I did it where, okay, I know he's coming, well, that's not very good for me. But the moment I heard something or I felt something, turn into it. So that is the first thing, is avoidance, right? All right, next. And you saw when I fell, because I lost my balance, right away went into a ground fighting position. And again, I've done it so many times, and in real life too, in real fights, that boom, it's just muscle memory. All right. So we did 2-1. We did 2-1A and 1 and 2. And okay, now the next part is human instinct. All right. So let's think about this. He lightly puts this on me for training here. He puts it on. All right. He's pulling. What is human instinct? Well, if someone's trying to choke you, the first thing you want to do is get this off your neck. I mean, even if it happened to me right now with all my training, I'm not going to override my instinct, because that first moment is like, what the heck is on my neck? And I feel the tug back. It's bad news. And if this was piano wire, I just saw recently on Facebook, someone posted it. It was for a women's self-defense class, and they were trying to get the finger in where there's a little gap behind. And I thought, nah, that's not going to happen. I mean, I'm going to probably black out within a second or two with full force, or my throat's going to be crushed. You don't have time to be digging back there, especially if he's pulling you back. So here is the rule of thumb. He's behind me. He's choking me. If someone's behind me, I get behind him. It doesn't matter what his leg configuration is. Now I can grab the back of his collar. I can grab his shoulder. I can shove my knee in. I'm taking this guy down. All right. So he does it again. Do it. You know, I don't care where your legs are. I'm here. He throws it over. Now in this case, I feel most of my weight on this side, so I step. All right. Who cares if it's perfectly behind or not? But the whole point is, now because I'm moving towards him, even though he's choking me, I'm just going to gouge this guy's eyes out, do what I have to do. So rule of thumb is, if someone's behind you, you get behind them. Now put the belt. Oh, wait a second. Now put the belt down. It works for chokes too. Let's say he comes, left arm, right arm, makes no difference to me. I'm up. I know, once I grab, I know, even if I was blind, wait, skinny part, thick part, that must be his left arm. Therefore, go in the direction, step behind, lift him up, launch him, and his head's gonna hit. So that's what I teach even for chokes, a rear chokehold. If he's behind you, you'll get behind him. May not be perfect, but it's a lot better than being here. And once I start making the turn, I can do something. Even if it was a wire, yeah, I'm going to get cut. I might get cut severely here, but at least because the pressure's off moving into him, one side is still okay. And yes, you can survive with one artery cut. Wouldn't want to do it, but that could happen. All right. Now, last part of this is the 2-4, garrote disarm from a seated position. So grab your garrote. And we have Mr. Bad Guy right here in this seat. And then I'll move the camera for you, Justin. You just get prepared for your attack. So this situation, now, right now, I told you before, there's two things that determine how you fight: situation and environment. Right now, the situation is bad guy who's about to throw a garrote over my neck. Situation is a bunch of folding chairs. So if I were sitting here, some crazy guy decides to throw this over my neck in church, my instincts are, I got a problem. But I realize, nope, I'm not going to get out of this, especially if he has his foot like that and he's pulling me back. So what's the situation? Remember the golden rule. If someone's behind you, get behind them. So I literally would shove my chair and now dive into them and go with them. And he's not expecting that. And now at least he's at a bad angle. So good for me. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a lot of fighting to get out of it, but it's a lot better than where I was. All right. Now, what is more difficult is, imagine these were all fixed chairs. These are all bolted into the cement. It could be a theater, it could be a bus, an airplane, and then again, some whack demon-possessed guy decides he's gonna kill me with his belt or whatever. Now he does it. Panic for a moment. Immediately get up on that backrest, get your heel up, and throw yourself back there. I'm not gonna do it because these are too flimsy, but I'm gonna literally throw my whole body, and he's gonna have the wet cat in his lap. All right. Last thing is, I also teach this to my women for women's survival. Now, it's not the whole class because it's just time consuming and stuff, but I do at least explain it to them. And if I had a rich family that hired me once to train his university daughters, some rich doctor in New Jersey, great guy. And I actually had them in the garage. I don't want witnesses, so people call the police. But I actually had a bad guy role player in the back seat of the car hiding. Young woman gets in, and it's about to start. He does it, and there's not much of a gap between the ceiling and her head. But believe it or not, all three of them were able to get their heel up, get right over, no problem. I mean, unless you're in some sports car, really small, you're going to be able to do it. Now, obviously, the lesson, the preventatives, always check your back seat. I do the same thing. I have a big truck, and someone could easily hide back there. So I check, because who knows? I don't want to be caught by surprise. Prevention is everything. But in my truck, no problem. If I didn't pay attention, I could do it. And of course, you really want to do it for muscle memory. So that's the course for today.